Hello, Sobertown, and welcome to the Sobertown podcast. This is your Sunday 2 for 1. Good morning. I am Polly, and I have on the train my good friend Karina. Good morning, Karina.
Good morning, Polly. How are you?
I'm good, and you've been a stranger for a few days. It's good to get on the train and start touching base with you because you have been conducting an experiment specifically for this podcast. Would you like to tell us about what you did?
Yeah, so I was listening to a Pema Chodron interview a week or so ago, and I'd heard that she had done a year's silence. And I started thinking about how I'd actually like to do some silence for a while. But me being me, I don't think I could keep my mouth shut for for more than a minute or an hour.
I know it's pretty doubtful.
Yeah. But what I thought about doing was that I've realised that since I've got sober, I have got a lot more addicted to my phone. And I spend an awful lot of time on my phone. Okay, so I decided that perhaps I should just give up my phone for a while because I'm quite addicted to my phone. Even when I have people around, even when people are here, I'm always on my phone. So I thought I'd give it a little go and see if I could go 72 hours without my phone. Initially, I was just going to do it without going on the apps, without going on the internet. And I felt that I needed to keep my phone on still for emergencies. But then I thought, well, no, actually I don't, because Andy was here with me at the time. So I thought, well, if it is an emergency, people can contact him. So I actually turned my phone off completely on Wednesday night with the plan of leaving it off completely, which is I did do. The only time I turned it back on was to make voice recordings on reflections on how my day had gone.
Okay, so almost like a vocal diary of how you were feeling and what was happening. Well, that's going to be interesting. So yeah, maybe we can talk about those in a little while. But yeah, sorry, you saying you're coming off your phone for 72 hours. I'm rolling my eyes in the background thinking, ooh, how do we do this? But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because I'd spoken to you on the Tuesday and we decided that I was going to do it from the Wednesday night, didn't we?
Yes.
And actually the absolute worst was the Tuesday night. It was the Tuesday night when I'd put out a post saying that I was coming off my phone. I'd started contacting people saying I would be coming off my phone from the following night. And my anxiety was so high. I almost had a panic attack in bed. It was absolutely through the roof, this anxiety, the thought of not having my phone.
What was the worst? You're saying the anxiety, but you and I have got these groups going with these women. Was it the anxiety of not being able to be contacted by people you thought might need you in a dark moment, or was it just the anxiety of having been so used to the phone so much?
I think it was a mixture of both. But I think, yes, one of the things that really came up for me over the 72 hours was that fear of not being there for someone. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a fear of missing out. I wasn't worried that I don't have that. I don't get a fear of missing out on what's going on. But there was this big fear of, what if somebody needs me? What if it's an emergency? You know?
The mama gene hit the mama gene.
Yeah. And I sort of had this moment of like, Karina, the world really is not going to stop turning just because you're not there. I had to sort of say to my ego, down girl. You know?
When you think about it, yes, it is our ego, because we did a podcast a little while ago where we talked about we feel valued and we have a purpose. So that's a little bit of our ego thinking, yeah, we're needed. And definitely. Suddenly to start thinking, am I really needed? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is one of the things the things that came up for me mostly were my incessant need to share everything, my incessant need to be there for everybody, at all times in any situation. My anxiety and my fear and my catastrophizing about something major happening to somebody and me not being able to be contacted. But also the thing that came up for me was how reliant we are on our phones, how actually they have made our phones to be able to do everything in order that we exclude everything else, because everything is on our phone. And there was the first morning, I think it was, that we went out without my phone, and we were going on a journey to collect Jack from work, actually, and Andy and I were talking in the van, and it was a 40-minute journey, and I'd wanted to reach my phone 15 times, which was about every 2.5 minutes. I wanted to do Google searches on everything from the easiest guitar to learn to play on to tree houses, anything that we've been discussing,
rabbit holes.
Yeah, because we'd be talking about something and I think, I'll look that up. I can buy that, I'll do this. And I realised that actually we actually sat for 40 whole minutes and we talked. I didn't go off on those rabbit holes. I didn't go off to other things and look. And I realised that I wanted, sorry.
I think you just said something there that really brings it home, because years ago, I worked in communications many, many years ago. And I remember the first cell phone. And we had 2 cell phones within the hospital system for emergencies, for the emergency managers at the weekend. Those things were like a car battery. They were absolutely enormous. So you didn't carry those around and you didn't do surfing on them. And I think you just highlighted that the moment you pick up the phone to do the Googling and the searching, the conversations stop.
Yeah, completely. And so we didn't have that, and we just carried on, and we had a real flow and a really good conversation. I had gone to my phone that morning before we left because I realised that I needed to get the case of my phone, because all my credit cards and debit cards are in there. That's how much I use my phone. Everything I will need is always with my phone. I realised that I went to go on there to put the notes on my phone of what I was thinking and what my reflections were. And I realised, it's no wonder our memories are going, because actually our phone takes away the need to remember. Not only is it zapping us with all these electrodes or x-rays or whatever they are, but actually we can just write everything down on our phone. We can do everything with our phone. We can use a calculator. We don't have to mentally work stuff out,
Speaking of,
yeah.
I remember when the science calculator came in when my kids were little, and we said, that's it. They won't learn how to add up and do stuff. That's it. The calculator's going to do all the work for them. It's a bad thing. And now we're the same thing with the phones.
Yeah. And it's just absolutely there.
Excuse me.
And, one of the things that I do, very often I have my phone on silence anyway. In fact, people keep ringing me, and I'll have to say, I'm sorry, my phone was on silent. And I'm like, why am I actually apologising for my phone being silent? And it was kind of strange because I tuned in. I was reading The Unexpected Joy of Being Ordinary that you'd signposted me to. And that first night about my phone, I actually picked it up and I was on the chapter about the phones.
Signs. There's signs.
So I was on that about phones, and and I thought, that's right. We can see when people have read
ahead.
Yeah, so, and she was saying that we can actually see when our messages and that have even been read, which we can. And that even family say things like, hello. I do that. I do that with Jack. If he hasn't responded, hello, everything okay? And I'm like, I'm not going to do that anymore. And I'm going to take all my ticks off of everything so people can't see when I've read. When I got home, I from that car journey, I got a pen and a bit of paper. I picked up an old journal, actually. And in that old journal, which I was writing in, I actually found an entry from the 28th of December, this was 2018. And I'd put, and this is, as you say, about signs, I opened it up and I'd put, need to get Ruby Wax book, How to Be Human. And I'd seen two parts of this, extracts of it in the Daily Mail, I think it was, and she'd put, we communicate with virtual families sometimes more than our real life ones. We're so intrigued by other people's social media feeds, we stop noticing the things happening under our noses. And the other bit was, above all, focus on people you care about who are right in front of you and do all you can to connect with them in meaningful ways. And I'd written that way back then. And again, it was in this journal that I'd picked up on this, episode of, and it was so, I mean, I never did buy that book. And it's only now that I started sort of turning my phone off. But it's so true. One evening, we wanted to get an Indian takeaway. I went to reach for my phone to look, to see at the menu and that, and to order. And so I said to Andy, right, let's go in. So we went into Halston. We went into the Indian takeaway. I didn't have my phone with me to distract. The guy who ran the takeaway, best front of house ever. He was wonderful. And then some guy called James walked in. He'd been living up here for a year. And he was from London. And we got chatting. Turns out we were both born in the same hospital in Ilford.
Oh my gosh.
17. Yeah. I wasn't rude to ask him what year, but do you know what I mean? It was great, and I was buzzing. Now, if I'd have had my phone on me, I wouldn't have had any of those conversations at all, and it just started to make me realise how stressful, how we are so taken away from life.
We've got another addiction.
It is a complete addiction. And every morning the first thing I wanted to reach for was my phone, but by the evening I actually just wanted to pick up my phone, do my voice recording and turn it off, because I actually didn't want it. As the day went on.
Did you find it intrusive after being off it for a little bit? Did you find it intrusive?
Very. So when I put it on, even when I was doing my voice recordings, I couldn't look at my phone, because all the time I'm there's these flashes coming up on my phone. And the thing that of like news feeds, of tweets, of just all notifications. And one of the things I reflected on was, do you know what? It's a bit like having your phone and having your phone on is a bit like uninvited guests coming through your door without even knocking and walking into your home, because they are there. I haven't invited any of them in. I haven't asked them to come in, and yet they're there. And when I turned on my phone this morning, I had 97 emails. Every single one of them I just deleted.
My God.
I completely deleted them because I didn't even need to open them. They were all trash. It was all rubbish. And I've just spent some time now going back through it and unsubscribing. But I don't know if you've noticed this. You can unsubscribe from emails and it's fine for about 4 or 5 months, and they slowly creep back in again, even though you've unsubscribed.
And also, with today's technology, every time you visit a website, that is captured, and the next thing you see is a huge bunch of emails in your box.
Yeah.
Related to it, and you think, oh, for God's sake, I just don't want this.
No.
I told you how to turn off screen time because I think this is so important, because you can control your screen time. And in one of the ladies' groups today, I said something that was, to me, profound, because it just, when things just pop into your mind, you don't even think of them, this thought just pops into your mind. And I turned round, and it's all about this control thing and what is controlling us. Not what we are controlling, but what is controlling us. And I turned around because I was with a couple of the ladies last night that they have trouble winding down to sleep. And I said about turning off the phone, and you can go into your settings and adjust your screen times. You can go in and set it so as it doesn't disturb you at a certain point. And I turned around and I said, we need to start taking control of the phone and not letting the phone control us, which is what's happened. Yeah, I'm as guilty as anybody of it. I really am. So how did it progress through these days? Go on.
As I say, in the morning, the first thing I wanted was my phone, and I was desperate for my phone. For the evening, I didn't want it. And you know that I've been trying for, well, it's been my thing for a good couple of years now, that after 8 o'clock at night, my phone goes off. I have a 2-hour wind down before bed. I don't have my phone on. Since I've got sober, and especially sort of probably this year, since we've got sort of so involved in a lot more of the groups and the paying it back, which, you know, I don't regret at all, but I find it really hard to switch off, and I'm often on my phone still at 9:30 at night. So it was really nice, because in that way that it wasn't even a conversation, you know, like the old alcohol conversation. Shall I have a drink?
Yes, the one. Oh, yeah, just one. It's Saturday. Just one tonight. Just one tonight. Yeah.
Can I get away? Yeah, that's what was happening with my phone. You know, just a bit longer. Or can I just do it a bit? Or should I just send one more text? You know. So it was really nice not to have that equation. And my phone. I'm going to let everybody know now. 8 o'clock. My phone is going off.
Are you setting the do not disturb?
I will be setting the do not disturb. I mean, to be fair, I will leave it. It will be on. Can you use do not disturb for phone calls? Can phones still come through?
Yes, right. You can. Okay. And also with the screen time that I showed you, you can decide who can come through on to your phone. You can set up a list of favorites, i.e. mom, dad, son, daughter, husband. And they can be your favorites list, so that all you do is you allow calls from your favorites.
Yeah.
That is all that can come through. My phone very, very extremely rarely rings, because 9 o'clock at night, as I say, it goes into sleep mode. And I put it on the charger and leave it there. And at first, like you, it was hard. But it did not take long to get used to it as a new habit. The same as we've done with our alcohol. We're developing new habits. We are engaging in different ways. You engaged in conversation with Andy.
You've paused.
You engaged, sorry, that's me. I lost my train of thought. You engaged in conversation with Andy. You engaged in conversation in the takeout shop, rather than pick up the phone and just order it and walk in and pick it up and walk out.
Yeah.
It's learning to engage, and it's what we learn to do when we give up alcohol, is learning to engage with ourselves, because we haven't done it for so long. And I think you turning off your phone, you are learning to engage with you. In the days back when there was one house phone, you know, all the arguments over who was on the phone too long. Yeah, don't tell so-and-so to get off the phone. I'm expecting a call. Now, everybody's back pocket, if you go around the supermarket, everybody's back pocket in their jeans has got a phone in it. So everybody is connected almost 24/7. But and something I did after you'd said you were going to do this, and when you did go and turn off, I mentioned it into a couple of the ladies groups to do a 1-day detox a week. Maybe, I don't know, whichever was the easiest day to do a turn off day, you know, where you turn your phone off, you turn off your laptop, you turn off your iPad. It's difficult for people who work. That's understandable. But maybe if you work Monday to Friday, you can do a turn off on a Saturday. Or even a Sunday would be nice. Wouldn't you love to just have a Sunday when nothing is going on?
Yeah. Or why not do a turn off? You know, because, you know, you say people work, but that's the thing. Back in the day, we didn't have phones. So even when we're at work, we're distracted. we're continually distracted by our phones, our mobile phones, because that's another addiction. And you know what the other thing was that and actually just talking about that now with work, it's reminded me what it used to be like in the office when I was working, because everyone would have their own mobile phones, they'd have their work mobile phones, they'd all be pinging. And there was one day where Andy had his phone on and it kept pinging because he obviously didn't turn his phone off. And it drove me nuts. In the end, I had to say to him, Andy, can you please turn it on silent or turn it down, because it's really driving me batty. Because I just didn't want this pinging all the time in my ear. And I would definitely be doing this more regularly. In fact, I am going to restrict myself to 2 hours a day only on my phone. Not with phone calls and texts, but definitely it's going off at 8 o'clock at night. I have deleted 15 apps off of my phone this morning. I've taken all my notifications off. I've and I've blocked some numbers as well. These blooming numbers that keep, you've been involved in an accident and this, all these, or you haven't paid your internet, and it's like, oh, just go away.
Please go away.
My phone is relentless. So
mine, I get constant calls because the state of Texas didn't do something with car warranty, and I get constant calls saying, well, your car warranty is about to run out. Will you please go away and leave me alone? I will sort my own car warranty out if I need to. I'm a grown woman. I can do these things.
Yeah.
Excuse me, coughing people. I've got a bit of a tight chest this morning. I don't know. The air is very damp, very, very heavy. But anyway, onwards. Did you relax more as the time went on in the 72 hours? Was it, obviously it was a little difficult at first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because like you said, you had that fear almost, the anxiety.
As the time went on, then yes, definitely. In fact, I started to think, I didn't want to turn my phone on to do the recording of an evening, because of what I might see. So I was literally looking away from my phone but talking into it to do the voice recording on my reflections. But it's almost like I had to turn it on. I didn't want to, and I wanted to get it done and turn it off and get rid of it like it was hot coals. The only time I had struggle was yesterday when Andy went home. And it meant my emergency contact had gone, because I live on my own.
You do have health issues also, which you need.
Issues. Yeah. I did put my watch on when he went, my Apple Watch, which I hate because that thing's connected to me and following me around everywhere. But if I have a fall, it will contact somebody. So I do promise everybody that I would keep that on. And I don't have to have my phone on for that, apparently, so that was fine. But yeah, I was anxious yesterday, because like, what if somebody needed me? What if somebody needed to talk to me?
I think the weather is affecting our connection on the train, because we're getting a little few hiccups along the way. Isn't technology wonderful? Let's turn it all off.
No, we're actually due lots and lots of rain this afternoon, and mighty storms tomorrow for 24 hours with structural damage expected. So that's not so great.
We've just had it, and we had golf ball sized hail. So if you can imagine hail the size of golf balls coming down. We were lucky here at the house. We weren't too bad. We managed to miss it. But the other morning, it was just steady rain, and the sound of it just sounded so gorgeous. It was so relaxing, appreciating things again. So yes.
That's the thing, isn't it? And we can sort of tune into things a lot more, I think, sort of, and being mindful and helping with that sort of, trying to distract us and living in the moment. Because one of the other things I noticed as well was that we very, very rarely live in the moment. We're always doing something. If it's not with our phones, it's watching a movie, reading books. Even if we were to read a non-fiction book, it's still not fact. It's just somebody else's opinion, isn't it? And view.
Yep.
So we're always doing things. We're hungry for things to distract us from us and being on the journey that we're on.
I'm not so sure I'm hungry for distraction. I am hungry literally because I feel like my brain has been deprived for so long. I'm hungry for information. Yeah. I am dreadful. That's my weakness. I mean, sit me in front of a computer and I go all over the place. I even this week, my son said to me, he said, "Mom, you've just purchased a second monitor. Why?" I said, "Because I need it." Wow. He said his one screen not enough. I said, "No." I said, "I talked to my friend on one and I need to have the other on." And he went, "Oh my God, mother." He said, "What are you like?" He said, "The communicator will not let go of you." It's the nature. And I think that's, you and I are communicators because that's the nature of who we are, which is probably why your anxiety kicked in, because you are very much a communicator.
Yes. And for a lot of my career, obviously, was there for people as well. And and don't get me wrong, it felt a need in me as well. You know, wanting to be needed, wanted to be there for people. That does something for me. But actually, it was quite nice to actually be there for me. Yeah. One of the things that was really useful or really improved was my sleep, I have to say. I remember the first night that I did it, I'd turned my phone off, so I'd had that good 2 hours without my phone. I was just reading a book and I literally turned out the light, rolled over and went to sleep. Well, I cannot remember the last time I did that. As you know, Polly, my mind is usually like, I've got a right monkey brain. And
I think my mind my mind goes at 50 miles an hour sometimes.
Yeah. And very often I have to listen to my phone and listen to Pima or Eckhart or somebody to try and distract my brain. But actually, I turned off. There were some nights I was waking every couple of hours, but I went straight back to sleep again. And no matter how much sleep I did or didn't have, the dreams weren't as intense and mad as usual. And I certainly couldn't remember them when I woke up, but I still woke refreshed the next day, which was amazing. And I think some of that is in part to not having it for the 2 hours before bed, my phone, but also just because I haven't got all that stuff going around during the day. And the interesting thing about phones at bedtime is a lot of people do know that we shouldn't sort of really watch TV or be on our laptops or computers or our phones around bedtime, or we shouldn't really do it for 2 hours before sleep. And that is yes, because it stimulates our brain and keeps us thinking more. But the other reason as well is the chemistry side of it. So when the sun goes down, our bodies release melatonin, which is our sleepy chemical, which says it's time for nights now and it's time to go to sleep, and it makes us drowsy and tired. When we are on all this technology, watching TV on our phones, etc., the backlights on them mimic sunlight. So it's sending a message to the brain that that sun hasn't gone down and the melatonin doesn't get released, and that's why it keeps us more awake. So yes, that it is a real chemical thing, a bit like sort of alcohol being a chemical thing with sleep. And you found some stuff, didn't you, about
alcohol and sleep, but also just with regard to what you were saying. I don't know whether I'm pronouncing this right. The circadian clock. If anybody wants to do some little bit of rabbit holing, as I call it, go and look for that, because it understand your body rhythms and what happens with when the sun's coming up and then when the sun's going down, etc. That was one I followed, and it's a biochemical oscillator that cycles through phases in your head, and it cycles with the clock, with the day, when sunrise comes, when sunset comes. And also another thing that's governed by daytime, etc., and nighttime is, we all say, oh, well, the tides, because the tides also follow the same kind of rhythm, but we don't. A lot of the time we've lost that rhythm of going to bed at a certain time. And I did a little piece on alcohol and sleep. As you know, I am dreadful. That's the physiology of sleep, but I've got one here that talks about when she can find it. I'm so sorry.
Well, while you're just looking for that, that's fine. I'll say that there was some research done by some sleep centres a couple of years ago, and they are actually saying that if you're having really bad places with it, like struggling with insomnia, there's lots of tips. That one of the things you've just mentioned is a routine. It's really important to have a good bedtime routine. We have it for our children, but we forget it as we get adults. But we need a good routine too, and we can talk a bit about that in a bit. But what they found in this research is one of the best way to reboost yourself if you're really struggling for sleep is to go on a camping weekend.
Okay.
And don't take any electronic stuff with you. You just go, you and the tent, and as you say, you get up when the sun comes up, you go down when the sun goes down to bed, and you just go with nature and the flow of nature, and that is meant to, as you say, reset those rhythms and reset you back into. And I remember watching a program a few years ago about these tribes. They'd gone into the jungle in these tribes, and it was really interesting because actually their alarm clock, if you like, is one of the monkeys that lives in the jungle. So the people in these tribes wake up when this monkey gives its call. That is their alarm clock. It's time for us to get up now, and they follow their rhythms with the monkeys. And when the jungle falls silent, and when the sunlight's gone down, then they go to bed and they get up again with the monkeys in the morning.
Well, this one says it's alcohol and the physiology of sleep. And alcohol depresses the central nervous system, which affects sleep in a variety of ways. It's often believed that alcohol promotes sleep, but the research as a whole shows that although alcohol is a sedative and may initially help people to fall asleep, overall, it disturbs the sleep cycle, exacerbates certain sleep problems, and consequently creates negative repercussions during waking periods. In general, alcohol helps people fall asleep more quickly, regardless of the amount of alcohol consumed. That's scary. Researchers have also found that the sedative effect of the alcohol lasts through the first part of the night. That's something to remember, because in our IIS groups, they all talk about this. They can fall asleep for that first part, and then they're awake and they have difficulty. And it says here, in fact, people who have consumed alcohol wake up less frequently for shorter periods of time during the first hours of sleep. So your first hours of sleep, you'll sleep. However, while alcohol generally helps people fall asleep and not wake up during the first hours of sleep, it has a disruptive effect on the rest of the night, which is marked by more fragmented sleep and frequent waking. These effects are due to the metabolism of alcohol during the second part of the night. Non-REM sleep, right? That's when we're first going to bed. During the first part of the night, alcohol increases the amount of non-REM sleep, regardless of the amount you've consumed. Over the whole night, however, the impact of the alcohol on the amount of non-REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement, by the way, people, is directly related to the amount of alcohol consumed. No clear trend has been observed among those who drink lightly, but among those consuming a moderate amount of alcohol, researchers have observed a trend towards increased non-REM sleep, which means you sleep lighter. I think, am I getting that the right way around? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
You don't go through, so you go through stages of sleep, and we go through several cycles, but a couple of 2-3 times a night, you go through these 4 stages of sleep.
And I think that's what you were saying about your sleeping the one night where you were waking up, but you were turning over and you were going back to sleep. That's this coming up and going down into sleep. It's like waves, isn't it? And sleep does come in waves. And regular uninterrupted sleep is important for our health and well-being. Sleeping recharges us for our day-to-day activities and contributes to our ability to function productively. How many of us have just dragged our butts through the day after a night on the alcohol? Drinking alcohol can change both the length and quality of our sleep. It can disturb the sleep cycle and can have repercussions during waking periods. People with sleep disorders should pay particular attention to how alcohol can help their sleep overall. Because, I mean, there are certain sleep disorders that are definitely exacerbated by alcohol.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that working in certain industries, smoking, etc., cause breathing problems. But I don't think they realize that alcohol can create such bad breathing because it's all to do with the flow of blood through the lungs, etc., and your heart and like we say, the rhythms. And you don't necessarily need to be someone who's worked in one of the industries with foundries and places like that, where people used to work and get emphysema and things like that. Alcohol causes those as well. And I don't think enough people realize that alcohol does cause those kind of breathing and sleep disorders.
To sleep apnea. And we all know that people snore more when they've been drinking, don't they?
Yes, definitely.
And it's because, but when you snore it as well, it's to do with the relaxation of the floppy bit at the back of the throat and it's at the back of the nose, so it makes it all vibrate more. But that's because we're so relaxed. But you can see why, and people can realise why now when we stop alcohol, people have sleeping problems because they've taken away that bit that's going to get them to sleep. And people incorrectly think that alcohol helps them to sleep. It doesn't. It helps get you off to sleep, a bit like sleeping medication.
Yes,
but it doesn't keep you asleep, and the rest of your sleep is bad. So it's about sticking with it and getting back into those good rhythms and sleep patterns and
healthy routines like you did with your phone.
Yeah.
And turning it off 2 hours before bed. A lot of people complain about insomnia.
Yeah.
And that's because a lot of the time we've let ourselves, the rhythm is gone, the rhythm of going to bed, going to sleep, sleeping well. Some people will wake up in the night and you see it when they're making a post. They've got their phone in their hand. It's 2 o'clock in the morning and I can't sleep. No, do not pick the phone up. Do not pick up the iPad. Get up, make a herbal tea. Just break the rhythm for a bit and then go back to bed. That's because, like you say, we are so addicted to these things. They're like, it's almost like having a third hand, isn't it?
Yeah. And people go hysterical. You see the kids of today as well. Like even me, I've done it. It's like you lose your phone. It's like you've lost the end of the way. It's like the end of the world. Where's my phone? I need my phone. It's got everything in it. But they sort of break us away from our routines. And there are things on phones and things now that you can put the blue light on. You can put the backlight, change that around a bit so it's not so bright. But I think one of the most, because I used to do sort of a lot of sleep hygiene with people. And one of the most important things is to have a regular bedtime and a regular wake up time.
Okay.
So that you go to bed at the same time every night and you get up at the same time every morning.
Okay.
Some people might want to vary that for days off and work days, but it is really important to establish what time you are going to be lights out and sleeping and what time you're going to be up in the morning, because especially with your bedtime, because once you've got your bedtime you can backtrack from that and get your bedtime routine going. So we're all stopped alcohol anyway now, hopefully we're still sort of on that, but alcohol, nicotine and caffeine should not be consumed for 6 hours before bedtime. So if you're going to bed at 10 p.m, you should not have any of those after 4 p.m. at night.
I do give myself a cutoff, but then I've grown up with caffeine, my cup of tea. But I do not drink my English tea any later than 5:30 in the afternoon. That's usually when my cutoff is. And if I've got any tea in my cup, it goes into the sink. So, I mean, I do give myself a cutoff, because the one thing I have learned is to create some healthy routines. And you can set a bedtime reminder on your phone, and it comes up with a little tune to tell you it's 30 minutes till you need to start winding down. And I think 30 minutes is enough time to go into the bedroom, close the curtains, turn on a low light, walk around the house, make sure everything's locked up, put the phone on the charger where you can't see it. Because out of sight, out of mind, hopefully it takes a bit of getting used to. And what I started doing now is at 7 p.m. every night, I have a nice relaxing sleep bath which contains melatonin and lavender and chamomile. This has come about from the podcast you and I did about the supplements, etc., and finding different things. And I did start drinking the passion flower tea.
Oh, how did you get on with that?
I like it. And I said to my husband, I said, I don't care if this is all psychological. If I think it's helping me, then I'm happy with it. And I did introduce 2 of the supplements we talked about, the DLPA.
Yep.
And the brain magnesium, which is, I don't take 3 a day. I take 1 in the morning and 1 2 hours before bed, which is usually when I'm heading for my bath, is I do my magnesium tablet, my brain magnesium. Then I have my soak. Then I start putting the bedroom ready and getting ready for Dan, because the bedtime routine can be quite long-winded at times. So I think that if I've got things prepped and ready, it slows down the time from when we head into the bedroom to when the light goes out and I put my head on the pillow.
Yeah.
I don't have that full length of time to start firing my brain up.
No, it's really important to have that wind down, and what you talked about a bath, that's a fantastic thing to do. And I don't think it is psychological. I think it is getting your like we've talked a bit about retraining our brain pathways and getting those things back. As I say, when we're kids, I look at as often now with Arthur, he has a very strict when he eats, when his bath time, what his bedtime is, because they need that for their body to understand and structure and to work out. We all need routine. We just let it go as we get older. So I think having that's a perfect wind down routine. 2 hours before bed. So if you're going to bed at 10, say, and you want the lights out at 10, I say 8 o'clock, everything should go off. Start your wind down, have your nice bath, not too hot. And some people prefer a shower. Showers are okay, but make it warm rather than hot. You don't want it too stimulating before bedtime. And that's part of your routine, and setting the lights, which you've mentioned. And that's another really important thing, is actually our bedroom itself, is that it's not too noisy, that it's not too cold, that it's not too hot, that it's dark enough. I've got some blackout blinds on my window, because it really needs to be dark, or whatever's right for you. So it's about looking at that environment and setting the ambience for a good night's sleep. Is what you just described, really.
And I did something last week that I hadn't done in a long time. And I think it was prompted by you doing this detox as well, because I wanted to try something. And with starting these supplements, and I've always had a bit of a bedtime routine, but it's been a bit hit and miss on some nights, depending on what was going on. And Dan had been not too good for about 10 nights. So I was becoming more and more tired, and I knew I was becoming more and more tired. And I think the more tired you get, the more vulnerable you are. And I didn't want to be vulnerable. I've reached a point in my sobriety, and no, I'm not going to go there again. It's not going to happen to me. And I said to him, I will get you comfy into the bed, because he's in a hospital bed, obviously. I will get you comfy. I will get you settled, but I am sleeping in another room. And I slept like unbelievably. And when he and I talked about it the next day, he said, "Did you sleep well?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "What do you think it was?" I said, "Remember when the babies were tiny and we had the bassinet next to the bed? And every time they moved, every time they coughed, and even when they didn't move, you were hovering."
Why haven't they moved?
Yeah. Will you stop moving? Excuse me, the baby hasn't moved for 5 minutes. We are the worst. And I said to him, I said, and then when we put the baby into their own little room when they're a little older, we've got the monitor, but we tend to relax a bit more because they're that little bit older, you know, they're sleeping nicely. So I said to him, "I've acquired a 220-pound baby that occasionally I need to put in the other room." So, and I did it for 4 nights.
Yeah.
And for 4 nights, I got a really, really, really good sleep. And then I said to him on Friday, I said, "I'm coming back into the bedroom," because I'm very old fashioned in that I sleep in the same room as my husband. That's the way I am. It's just, don't ask me why. It's just the way I am. He's my man. I love him. If he needs me in the night, here we go again. Someone needing me. I want to be there. So I said to him, "I'd like to come back in the bedroom tonight if you'll have me." I said, "and see if, you know, I can get a good night's sleep." And while I got up in the night once to him, I climbed back in bed and I was gone again. No, there was no tossing, turning. I climbed back in bed, I turned over, and I was asleep. And we did the same last night. And actually, for me, last night was a red letter because I was actually in bed for 9 hours. And I can't believe I was in bed for 9 hours. And on my phone, I don't know if you've got an Apple Watch.
Mm-hmm.
There is actually a wonderful sleep app that can show you how it gives you your heart rate during your sleep time, your sleep cycle. And it shows you when you've gone into deep sleep, when you've come up and you're just still, when you drop down again into deep sleep. And a few times last week, my heart rate dropped to 49 and 48.
Wow.
Which means I was getting true rest. And it was only for a matter of a few minutes or so, but my body had dropped down into such deep sleep. I think I was almost in a coma.
But you know, that's good, isn't it? It's good. And why not go and do that? Why not go and recharge? You know, I don't actually like wearing my watch in bed at night because I'm very paranoid. You know, I'm one of those people who wants to put tin foil on my head to stop them following me everywhere and tracking me. I'm going to bounce the beams back at them. But I have it because other people feel safer with me being here on my own. If Andy's here or people are here with me, I don't have the phone in the bedroom at all now. I get rid of it. I want it out. I don't actually want. And I think if you have a home phone, if you are safe and you don't need a mobile phone in your bedroom, then I'd always recommend just getting it out.
Getting rid of it.
Don't even have it in there because it's giving off technology. It's giving off X-rays, whatever it is that it gives off. You know, it's bouncing off stuff all the time.
Well, mine tells me that last night I managed to have 3 hours and 53 minutes of deep sleep in my sleep pattern. Which, when you have deep sleep, it's restful sleep. And I feel so awake this morning. I can't remember feeling this awake. And when you're this awake, you're extremely positive. Your mindset is in such a good place, which is where this is why it's so healthy. And I would like to pause here and come back and ask you about recording of this. And also, ladies and gentlemen listening, please do your own research because we're all individuals and we all, you know, have got different ways that we like to sleep, what we like to do. But strongly advise phone not in the bedroom, please. I just want to say one thing before we go much further. Anyone who hasn't listened to Lilo, however you want to pronounce it, the DJ, if you have not listened to his podcast, I highly recommend listening to this podcast. I will say it brought me to tears because it just goes to show when you listen to what someone is saying about their life, how much we hide behind a smile. And I got the old Smokey Robinson song stuck in my head. Was it Smokey Robinson? I'm not sure. Behind the Painted Smile. That's all I could hear in my head after I finished listening to Lilo's podcast was Behind the Painted Smile. So whenever you smile, whenever you're near, I had my tears behind the painted smile. So, ladies and gents.
Probably not. Yeah, so I was about to say, probably not a good time to listen to these podcasts before you're going to sleep, Dave.
Oh, no, do not listen to them at bedtime. They are not bedtime listening, I do assure you. They are not. If you're out for a walk in the daytime, if you're riding your bike, or if you're on a long drive, listen to it because it is so worth it. These are people who are letting their raw emotions out. But back to what we were discussing, Paula went down a rabbit hole again. What were we saying just before we came back on?
So we were going to go on about sort of journaling and that. But one of the things I just wanted to pick up from our last little bit that we just did, and just on reflection, was you said you could set a timer on your phone to tell you when it's time to go to bed, and that your watch and that tells you how much sleep you've had, but if you've had a good night's sleep or not. You said, I feel refreshed, I feel good, but there's the reliance again. We're relying on technology to tell us how much sleep we've had, what our heart rate's been. We know we're not getting into our own rhythms. We're not feeling, we're not trusting
our biorhythms.
We're not trusting that. We're relying on technology and other things to tell us these things.
So I think what I will do tonight as an experiment is I will leave my watch in the kitchen on the charger with my phone and see how I get on with that one and see how I feel in the morning. It's a process, isn't it? All this is a process. And one thing I will say, we do the ladies groups, and one thing that Karina was talking about right at the beginning of this podcast was the anxiety in not being there. What if someone needs you? What if someone wants you? Et cetera, et cetera. We all know you cannot be there for everybody. And we try to be there as much as possible. And maybe I should leave this to the end. Yes, we'll leave this one to the end. We'll go to the journaling first. Different tool. Excuse me. I am so sorry to be coughing in your ear. This is about journaling, and I am not a journaler. I know there are people that journal, and they journal every evening. They sit in bed and they journal. Isn't that something better than sitting reading your phone?
Mm-hmm. And drinking,
putting out your feelings, putting it down on paper. Some people say, well, I can't do it. My mother used to always turn around to me and say, I beg your pardon, there is no such word as can't in the dictionary. There's can, there's not, there's no can't. So I think, oh gosh, Mum, channeling my inner mother, my mom. Anyway, this says why journaling helps. Our swirls of strong emotions tend to consume us. They cloud our vision. They make us behave in ways not in tune to our values. And let's face it, sometimes they just make us feel like crap. Okay. How many people do we go in and see on day 0, resets, day 1, day 5, day 1 week, feeling like crap? Because our emotions are the physical and energetic manifestation of our thoughts. Whatever you're thinking, it comes out.
Yeah.
And I had an interview this week with Dad's Life, and we said, these emotions are a whole body experience. It's not just a thought in your mind. It's a whole body experience, because tell me when you're happy, how your body feels, all the endorphins are going, you feel good. It's great. And then when you're sad, your whole body is like, it's a whole body experience. And journaling takes the busyness out of your brain, apparently. And there are 3 styles of journaling. You can make lists. You can make lists of 3 things that you did right this week. You don't need to journal every day. You can do it maybe Sunday morning, Saturday morning, whatever. List 3 things that you did right this week. Because if you remember Catherine Gray, she built the gratitude. She did the gratitude. That was so important to her. And then put down 2 flaws that you can forgive yourself for. 5 things that you are good at. 3 times that you were courageous. Picture someone who you feel judged by and what you feel that person has judged about you. Then write down the reasons that opinion of you is wrong. None of us like to feel prejudged at all. What are 2 things?
So we don't like to be prejudged, but we are the harshest critics of ourselves, and we
prejudge ourselves all the time, don't we? Yeah.
And and when you said that, find 5 things that you like about yourself, people will struggle with that at the beginning. But because it is hard, it's easy. If I said find 5 things that you don't like, we go bish bash bosh. We'd list them.
My God, yeah, bish bash bosh. I love that expression.
bish bash bosh.
Cool, bish bash bosh. And we had a conversation within the ladies groups this week, and someone was going to buy themselves something when they were going to treat themselves. Why do we feel guilty now when we want to go and treat ourselves something, yet we didn't think twice about going down to the grog shop and getting the wine or the beer or whatever our favorite tipple was? We didn't feel guilty about that. But now, do I need a reward? Yes, you bloody do. You need to reward yourself. Yes, you need to. You're doing something awesome. You need to reward yourself. And then what are 5 things your past self would love about your current self? That one I love. I absolutely love it. So that's one style of journaling. That's one to help you learn to love yourself, actually. And then you've got an open-ended questions and prompts. This one, write yourself a permission slip to be imperfect. Stick it on on the thing. Write down something you think you failed at and what you learned from it. There's a lot of us who've got that one. Write down something.
No such thing as failure. It's just a learning experience.
That's it. Write down something your inner critic has said to you and ask, what is the positive intent behind this? Why are they telling me that my hair looks absolutely crappy today? Well, because I positively need to go into the bathroom and start tidying myself up. So, different things. Oh, that's being silly, but what is one thing you want to stop doing, and what is one thing you can do to take a step in that direction? We did it. Anyone on day 0, anyone resetting, we did it. We are here. We are living proof that this can be done. Make the step. Take the first step forward and just keep walking. What is something you are procrastinating on, and how would you motivate yourself if you were a cheerleader? Do I want to do this? Do I really want to do this? How will I be at a wedding? How will I be at a party? You will be you. You are you. You're not a bottle of alcohol.
No. And it's okay to be you.
Yes.
Warts and all.
It's okay to be real. It really is all okay to be real. And what is one way you're being mean to or unfair to yourself? And what would you say to motivate and support yourself with kindness instead?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is such a beautiful post, this one. And I'll tell you at the end of it where I find these. What is a compliment you received and brushed off because you didn't feel you deserved it? Oh my God. You now practice fully accepting and appreciating the compliment. If someone tells you you look good, you say, well, my hair's not the best today. Why? Why not just turn around and say, oh, thank you?
Yeah. And because actually we insult other people, and the way I look at it now is if somebody makes the effort to tell me that my hair looks nice and I rebuff it, I'm actually insulting that person. I'm insulting their compliment. I'm
because
knocking it back.
they've taken the notice to look. It's
and
like
say something. Yeah.
And it's like my mom always said, if you can't afford a birthday present for someone, just send them a card, because it's the thought that counts. And it really is. If someone's looked and thought, oh, you look nice, and had the courage to turn around and say, because it does take courage as well. Well, you look nice. Have you lost weight? Well, yes, I've lost my beer belly. Are my rings falling off? Yes, because I'm no longer swollen on my fingers. But yeah. And then
my alcohol swelling has gone down now.
That's what I mean. I raised it yesterday. How many of us have got loose rings on our fingers because there's no fluid? And then a third type of journaling, fill in the blanks. Even though I feel, I choose to keep working towards feeling whatever by whatever. So that one, you can choose what you want to put in the blanks. Even though someone was, you could put mean to me, I choose to love and accept myself and can show it in action by, excuse me. So even though whatever it is seems hard and scary, I know I can do hard things. For example, I've put what you've done, because we do tell each other in the I Am Sober app, we can do hard things. You know,
we can.
We can. It's not going to kill us. My dad used to always turn around and say, there's one thing that will kill you for certainty. And I used to say, what's that? He said, shortage of breath. He said, if you can't breathe, you're dead. He said, and that's the only thing that'll kill you.
That will kill you, yeah.
Yeah, loving parents, isn't it? I mean, when I did a thing today and it said, who's the other P in your pod? It was my dad. And I thought, my dad. But even though I don't like whatever about myself, I appreciate so you could be how I deal with it, how I cope with it, whatever. So there are several, actually, there's 20, but where I find them, I don't know if anybody goes to the website for Tiny Buddha, tinybuddha.com. This isn't all hers. You can find all sorts of inspiration, why forgiving is the last step in the process and what comes first. How can we let people go when a relationship runs its course? There's all sorts of things. So tinybuddha.com, that's one I go to on a regular basis because I can always find something that resonates with me. But going back to, we're going to wind this up now. Yeah.
Can I just quickly say something about if you're not into journaling? I mean, there's two things that I always have a pen and paper by your bedside.
Yeah.
So when you're laying in bed and saying, I didn't do this and I didn't do that and I need to do this, just write it down. If you're insistent on keeping your phone with you, you can put it in your phone notes. But I would advise to have pen and paper, good old-fashioned pen and paper, and just to write it down to get it out of your head. Because once it's out of your head, you can forget about it. And the other thing is that we're really good at berating ourselves. I didn't do this today. I didn't do that today. I always say at the end of the day, always find something good to pat yourself on the back for. So even if you example, I didn't get out for my walk today. No, but I got in the shower and I've eaten well. Just look at the positive to end your day.
I didn't get this done, but do you know what? I cooked a lovely meal for supper and we sat and we chatted and we talked about it and things like that. So, I mean, you can always look for the nugget, I always say. There's always a good nugget in every day. So look for the little nugget. And
look for the gold,
Yes.
And the other thing as well, if you can't find, people who struggle to find the good ways of motivating, I always look at, well, what would I tell a friend? Those journal things you were just asking, is what would I say to a friend that was saying that or thinking that? How would I encourage them? And that can help you to encourage yourself.
You can use your mind as your friend, and you can be the friend, and your mind can be telling you, etc. That sounds a really good one, actually.
Yeah.
One thing that hit you way back at the beginning of doing this detox, which sounds really, really awesome, by the way. And I would like to encourage others to try it, even if it's for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Put the phone in a box.
And we're not talking about disconnecting, because I know connection is key, and it is key to connect when we're in sobriety. And I'd made a plan that if I had been desperate and needed to connect, I would have broken that 72-hour fast. I would have. It's like
it's like having a safety net. As long as you know there's a safety net in the background, you're good with it. And it's like taking the training wheels off your bicycle, isn't it? I mean, we've all got to learn to ride on two wheels at some point, because we have to live in the real world. We live in a virtual world, a lot of it, but we have to learn to live in the real world. And one of our things this week was one of our ladies, she struggled big time. And this is where I struggle to turn off, because I see someone struggling and I want to be there for them. But I came to a realization, and I think you've come to the realization, and a lot of people have come to the realization, we cannot save everybody.
No,
we can't. Karina and I and Drifter and Todd, Jamie, Drifter's wife, does a lot of work on this website. Also, Sky Elaine. We give as much as we possibly can, but you guys have got to want to do it. We can only hold your hand. But unless you're willing to take the step, we can only do so much. One of our ladies, she left a group, and it left a lot of the ladies upset. And we had to learn that we can be there for each other, those of us that want to be, but if there's someone, we just can't learn to help everybody. We can't save the world.
No.
It's not.
People are their own independent people, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And
that's it.
All we can do, everyone, I mean, to me, sobriety is like, my wings are no longer clipped and I'm flying free. And I think
flying high.
And all we can do is try and help other people to find their wings, and they will fly in whatever way they wish to fly.
I did my post today, and I made my pledge, because to me, seeing 333 on the I Am Sober app saying I had been sober for 333 days, the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, Mother, Father, Son, whatever you want to associate with 3. Tomorrow will be my 11 months, and I just cannot believe this. The first part of this journey is tough, but as you mount the days behind you, the momentum starts. And I don't know about you, Karina, but I don't think I ever want to put another drink of alcohol in my mouth again.
Definitely. I do not want to. I do not want, but I have to stay alert to that little voice that might pop up from time to time. But no, at this moment, I never, ever, I mean, as we've said before, my fear now is of drinking again.
Yes. And we have arrived at the station, and we're going to climb off the train. But with regard to a lot of what we talked about, time spent in self-reflection is never wasted. It is an intimate date with yourself. So do us a favor, have a date with yourself. Have a date with yourself, and never apologize for thinking differently, feeling deeply, and loving unconditionally. Just love your life unconditionally and be yourself. Karina, thank you so much for coming out of Detox and riding the train. This has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. I've enjoyed it. And we will be back 2 for 1 at some point. Go and enjoy your afternoon, sweetheart.
Thank you. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, darling. Thank you. Well, we've arrived at the station, and we would like to wish you all a wonderful week, and meet us back here for another ride on the sober train into the wonderful world of sobriety. Sobriety, the gift that keeps on giving. Good afternoon, everybody. Enjoy your day. Take care.